British farming is collapsing a bit like British industry, British mining in the 1980s.
And lastly, what has the impact of Brexit been in your industry? It was organised by the campaign group Save British Farming and Fairness for Farmers of Kent to raise concerns over difficulties faced by British farmers, including trade deals they say undercut them. Liz Webster is the founder of Save British Farming, or one of the organisers of yesterday's protest. Pleased to say we can have her on the show. OK, for issues that my listeners can understand, so those who are not necessarily rural but are living in urbans and town areas, what are the problems down on the farm? Morning.
Good morning, Nick. The problems are that we've got more and more substandard imports, so food grown, reared, used chemicals that are banned here, methods banned here, coming in. And so it's cheaper than British food because we're held to high standards. And the reason it's cheaper is because they're using all of those methods that are banned here, and they're undercutting our good British food and threatening our British farms, and that's our food security. And the other thing is that a lot of this food, the supermarkets are putting British flags on if the food is packaged or processed here. So the consumer doesn't know that they're buying food that isn't British. So we think that that is totally outrageously wrong and has to stop. And also the government doesn't have a food plan. They did the Agriculture Act, which is largely an environmental act. It hardly mentions food production. And so we've got no support. And British farming is collapsing a bit like British industry, British mining in the 1980s. And it's to save it, but let's hope we do, because otherwise we'll be held to ransom.
Liz, if I may call you that. Liz, is this across the board from turkeys to tomatoes?
Yes, every sector gets hit at a different time. There's different impacts in the market at the time. We've all got different growing seasons. Yes. But eventually, as the Australia deal and the New Zealand deal really starts to ramp up the quotas, because every year the quotas increase until it's limitless, we will not be able to compete. And the CPTPP, which they've recently just ratified, means that once we get into that and we have no veto or system, we will have to harmonise our regulations, and that means we will be forced to accept hormone-fed meat. And that's really curtains, particularly for British livestock farming.
What is the reality? Are farmers actually going out of business?
Yeah, Nick, I could cry at this. A farmer a week is committing suicide right now. This is a real. I know yesterday was full of celebration and it was a carnival, but underneath this is a very, very serious story, which actually impacts everybody. Because when British coal went, we could always find another way. Gas came through and other things. Once British food is gone, that's it. We will be reliant on other countries to feed us, and they can send us. The worst, they won't send us their best stuff, they're going to send us their worst stuff. And once we've run out of food security, they can charge what the heck they like. And not only that, from a British identity side of things, I identify through the way Britain looks. I'm proud of the countryside. It's beautiful. Our country is beautiful. If we're not farming it, it will change, and it won't look like Britain anymore. And I just think that's so sad.
What does the government need to do?
We need a government. I mean, this government is on borrowed time. We know it's run out of steam, and we're looking at a change, and it's likely going to be Labour coming in. And we need a government that accepts we need a food plan. They need to listen to the experts. Sean Rickard, ex-chief economist of the NFU, works with us. He's written a fantastic food plan, and we need to get around a table and understand that to ensure food security here, we need to have a proper food plan which is propped up with support, but also we need legislation to control the supermarket's power. At the moment, it's a monopoly, and they are literally thumping down on us, pushing down the prices, the farm gate prices, and crashing our businesses, and that has to end.
And lastly, what has the impact of Brexit been in your industry?
Well, we had these trade deals because of Brexit. We've lost subsidy because of Brexit. We've lost our labour source, free labour source.
And yet a lot of farmers voted to Brexit, of course.
A lot of people say that. I mean, largely there's been research. Largely, actually, the vote in the farming community, the research has shown, was actually lower in the farming community than across the country, particularly given the average age and sex of the farmers. They're mostly male. But I think the Leave campaign were very good in using farmers and farming and fishing as a campaign. But it doesn't really matter what we voted now. We're out of Europe. Yeah. We're in Brexit Britain, and we have to find a way to ensure that we can survive as British people and have enough food.
Liz Webster, the founder of Save British Farming, organising yesterday's demo. Thank you for your input.